If you close your eyes and imagine the most terrifying shark you know of or have heard of, there's a good chance you'll picture the Megalodon. And it's really not that hard to see why, considering that this prehistoric shark was a supersized great white that many think of as being the largest shark the world has ever seen. There's certainly no arguing that encountering this swimming giant would end in a bad day for most. But in some ways, the Megalodon may not have been the scariest prehistoric shark out there, as people often overlook that Megalodon wasn't some ravenous slayer that gobbled whales and other large marine mammals on the daily. In fact, recent studies suggest that Megalodon was an apex predator that specialized in hunting medium-sized prey. This hypothesis was first proposed after tooth marks were analyzed, which showed multiple adaptations for a more diverse diet, including an extremely high number of teeth that were not as massive as once thought. The rather surprising find was also further supported by its habitat of the Miocene oceans, which at the time of its existence were warmer and more diverse than today's seas. So now, smaller whales and large fish are thought to have made up the bulk of its diet. So it looks like Megalodon just wasn't as scary as we once thought, unless you're a whale calf, that is. But it turns out that there were actually other prehistoric sharks who could be the perfect candidates to take Megalodon's place as being Earth's most terrifying sea monster. Some of these not only possessed more voracious and exotic diets, but also had much more grisly ways of dispatching prey. On top of this, recent studies suggest that this relatively obscure group of sharks grew to be just as imposing as Megalodon itself. These were the Ottodontidae, or megatoothed sharks. As of today, 8 genera of these sharks are known to science, and their origins go back further than even the ancestors of Megalodon. The oldest member, Ottodus obliquus, evolved sometime during the Paleocene, specifically about 60 million years ago. Strangely, very little is known about this first member due to its fossils consisting of only teeth and vertebrae. In fact, to date, we have no complete skeleton, with one of the only pieces of information we have on it being that it lived worldwide, suggesting that this family first appeared as a global phenomenon. What's more is that whatever this shark was, it wasted no time mucking about, and before the end of the Paleocene, the Ottodontidae had already established a fairly large range, with multiple species being present throughout the world's oceans. These members were diverse not only in range, but in size too, as some, like the Paleocarcharodon, were relatively small, only measuring 16 feet or 5 meters, while others, like the Carcharocles, were larger, occasionally reaching over 30 feet or 9 meters, akin to the size of a large great white shark. And that is a respectable size, no doubt. But these early ottodontids were not yet the top dogs in their environments, as they still lived in the shadows of giant marine reptiles and primitive whales. It's thought that to survive, these sharks took on opportunistic diets, feasting on anything that they could come by, which in some cases included large bony fish and even small whales. This is demonstrated by a highly unique Carcharocles fossil, which showed tooth marks on what appeared to be a newly evolved whale species. Along with the occasional whale, large fish, sea turtles and other sharks are all thought to have been fair game for these predators. Although they hadn't reached their full potential during this time, they were still already utilizing the first characteristic that arguably made them more brutal than modern sharks, their teeth. Like great whites and other modern sharks, these ottodontids were active predators who used powerful jaws to tear into prey. However, where they differed, and what ultimately set them apart, was their massive serrated teeth, which were not as numerous or as replaceable as those seen in modern sharks. This led paleontologists to suggest that these guys could deliver devastating bites that would cause massive blood loss in their prey. Now, your first thought may be that this is actually less effective than modern sharks, as if they lost teeth, they couldn't replace them as quickly. Well, not really, because they could still capture prey that was plenty big thanks to their powerful swimming muscles and massive size. But then, in order to devour the victim, which was often too big to be swallowed whole, they would simply use their teeth and jaws to shred them into bite-sized pieces, possibly twisting and turning in a fashion similar to what is seen in crocodiles, resulting in chunks of flesh being literally sheared off. Suffice to say, you wouldn't want to go out this way, and unfortunately for many marine animals, this became a terrible fate, harder and harder to avoid as time went on. The ottodontids eventually took on a trend of becoming bigger and bigger with each new genus, which during the Oligocene culminated with Otodus angustidens, who the family is named after. This titanic shark inhabited both the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans during the final days of the Oligocene period and was already reaching sizes that rivaled that of the largest sharks of today. Specimens seem to have grown to be around 9.1 meters or 30 feet, making them about the same size as the largest known great white sharks. However, some Otodus angustidens fossils suggest they could get even bigger, sometimes growing to be 12.2 meters or 40 feet, which would put them on the same playing field as some of the largest known whale sharks, Earth's current largest known fish. At this size, Otodus angustidens was starting to show just how problematic these ottodontids could be, and within its habitat of Oligocene oceans, it's thought that practically every marine animal around would have been on the menu for adults. What's more is that Otodus angustidens had another trick that made it a bigger menace than the marine mammals it coexisted with, and that was its adaptability. You see, Otodus angustidens is one of the very few prehistoric sharks we know of that actually survived major climatic changes. While we know that certain groups persisted, it's extremely rare to find a single genus that can be traced through multiple epochs. This is all the more crazy when considering that a large adult would have weighed about 7 tons or 6,350 kilos, which is over 3 times the weight typically seen in other prehistoric shark survivors. The reason it was able to survive has been attributed to its diverse diet, its ability to migrate to more favorable waters, and its extremely efficient metabolism. With the world changing and new prey evolving, there was nothing left to stop Otodus angustidens from taking this family of sharks to the next level. And by the time the Miocene had rolled in, 5 million years after Otodus angustidens had first appeared, this shark had managed to evolve into something even more terrifying, Otodus megalodon, better known simply as Megalodon. Megalodon absolutely dwarfed its predecessor, with the latest estimates suggesting a length of anywhere from 15 meters or 50 feet to a staggering 20 meters or 65 feet. At the higher numbers, Megalodon becomes the largest shark known to science. It was also ridiculously hefty for a shark, weighing around 50 tons, which is similar to the weight of a humpback whale. Surely seeing this creature would have invoked some pretty intense primal fears. And sadly for all those with selacophobia, encountering this shark would have been far easier than meeting any land-based predator. Unlike terrestrial hunters, Megalodon is thought to have been a highly migratory creature that prowled around vast stretches of ancient coastlines, where it could have easily set up ambushes on unsuspecting prey that were then dispatched by its powerful jaws and subsequently torn apart by its razor-sharp teeth. Analysis of the areas it lived in indicates a diet that was varied and rather impressive, with prey possibly including different kinds of whales, seals, and even other large sharks. What's more is that within its environment, Megalodon was the biggest predator around, both in length and weight, making it the undisputed apex predator. It retained this status for millions of years, but Megalodon wasn't the only nightmare swimming in prehistoric seas. Enter Helicoprion, a genus of prehistoric shark that existed long before Megalodon, from about 290 to 250 million years ago. What made Helicoprion truly terrifying wasn't its size, which at about 7.5 meters or 25 feet was impressive, but not record-breaking. No, what made Helicoprion the stuff of nightmares was its bizarre and lethal dentition. Helicoprion possessed a lower jaw, unlike anything seen in other sharks, living or extinct. Its teeth were arranged in a spiral tooth whorl, resembling a circular saw. This whorl contained up to 150 serrated teeth and could measure up to 45 centimeters or 18 inches in diameter. When Helicoprion bit into its prey, this saw-like structure would rotate, slicing and grinding the unfortunate victim into manageable pieces. The sheer horror of encountering a shark with a built-in buzzsaw in its mouth is hard to overstate. While Megalodon might have been bigger, Helicoprion's unique adaptation made it a truly alien predator in Earth's ancient oceans, one that would have given even Megalodon pause. But neither Megalodon nor Helicoprion stick around forever. Megalodon seemingly went extinct by the time the Pliocene had ended, perhaps as a result of the Earth starting to cool down, resulting in its large size no longer being supported due to declining prey populations and competition from newly evolved predators like killer whales. Helicoprion, on the other hand, disappeared much earlier, at the end of the Permian period, likely a victim of the devastating Permian-Triassic extinction event that wiped out over 90% of marine species. Today, our oceans are still home to impressive sharks, but none quite match the terrifying proportions or bizarre adaptations of their prehistoric ancestors. The great white shark, often considered the ocean's top predator, maxes out at around 6 meters or 20 feet, a minnow compared to Megalodon. Even the whale shark, our largest living fish, reaches only about half the size of the largest Megalodon estimates. Yet these modern sharks are the legacy of those ancient ocean terrors. They've inherited millions of years of evolutionary refinement, resulting in the perfectly adapted predators we see today. While they may not reach the sizes of Megalodon or sport the saw-like teeth of Helicoprion, they're no less remarkable, and perhaps in their own way no less terrifying to those who encounter them in the vast blue depths of our modern oceans.